important situation that we're speaking about. So now Vincent Aluzzi is trying to get Brianna to be competent, and the attorney, Laura Wilson, who has always been a conflict to Brianna, is trying to get Brianna to be incompetent. Well, let me explain to you what the difference is. And first of all, mind you, this was all frivolous act. So therefore, I don't want my daughter trying to be deemed incompetent, because she is competent. She knows what happened, and she needs to be able to tell her story. So knowing that if a defendant shows evidence of incompetency before during trial, then the proceedings are suspended. The judge calls for a competency hearing and determines if the defendant's mental state is competent or incompetent. The trial resumes if the accused is found to be competent. A finding of incompetency means that the defendant is committed to an institute for psychiatric treatment. They don't tell you that, though. Laura Wilson didn't explain that to Brianna. She only told Brianna that the charges would go away. She didn't tell her she'd be committed to a fucking psych ward for the fact that she stood up for herself, and that she was being abused, and that my grandson was being abused. And the fact is, Brianna has again written to the courts, like she did back in April, and to her attorney, and they refuse to take my name out of a no contact order because they don't want me helping Brianna. But I'm telling you all that you need to stand up for your loved ones and fight for their justice, fight for their rights, because Brianna at this time doesn't have a clue what's going on or what's coming at her. We can all try to fathom it, but what I've been telling you is, as a systematic, they kidnapped my daughters years ago through the state. They lured my daughter away from me a couple weeks ago, and where she was safe with me, lured her to the state of Vermont. She's been in 2 hospitals since because she's so physically and medically ill. Not psychiatric fucking ill, okay? But this is the shit that they're doing to my daughter. So, in other words, if she was to file incompetent, and they say, okay, we're going to dismiss the charges where we say that you did, you impeded and you trespassed and you did all that bullshit, okay, which she didn't. It was her fucking apartment. They violated her constitutional rights, and now they're trying to violate her some more by putting her in a fucking psych ward, okay? So Laura Wilson is a conflict of interest, and I make it very well known. Everybody, stay away from Laura Wilson, the court-appointed attorney. She is seen by the T.J. Donovan, who is the Attorney General who's done all this stuff, and I have filed restraining order on my behalf and Brianna's behalf yesterday in the courts, and I'm waiting for an answer. If we don't get a good answer, then we're going to proceed to a hearing, because we're going to expose this stuff. And the reason why Brianna does not need to be found incompetent, again, is because she is competent. She knows what happens, and she has the right to tell her story. This trying to make her incompetent is a fucking gag order, which would make her automatically lose her son, and it would deem her for the rest of her fucking life like they're already trying. And we have all the evidence to prove otherwise. So therefore, filing a malpractice order is next, with the intent to file lawsuit against the judges and all. We've already filed the harassment orders, and now we're filing more. I didn't know that Brianna had court yesterday. I didn't know that at all when I filed that paperwork. But now that I know, I'm going to amend that motion and filing. And I'm going to continue to file until justice is served. So with that being said, I ask you all to pay attention. If your loved ones have been locked up frivolously, if they've been lied about, if you've been abused, come forward. I beg my daughter to come forward and tell what happened to her. And someday she will. When she's ready to, she will. But until then, she's an adult, and I can't make her do that. But Jesus knows that when you do right, you receive right. And he'll tell you that too. I do right, and I receive right. I get a lot of shit done wrong to me, but then I'm blessed at the end. My daughter deserves better than what she's been treated for several years, all at the hands of law enforcement. And when I tell you human trafficking starts with the police, it starts with the police. It is run through the government and their disciples, being the police. I've been in it myself. And that's why they're trying to silence me. They've had a hitman on me. I reported it, and then they stole my phone. I call it stolen because when you go to a courthouse, the federal courthouse, and the U.S. Marshals tell you you have to leave your phone in security, and then they can't find it, don't tell me that it's me and my daughter that have done wrong. We're not the ones. What about my mail that's come up missing time and time again? November 23rd, 2019 is when it was started to be noticed. But before that, my mail was being tampered with. And who was in charge of that? It happened to be a Social Security case, right? A disability case that was going through the hands of legal aid in the state of Vermont, overseen by Attorney General T.J. Donovan. And that reminds me, Montpelier, Vermont, frivolously did not put in medical records, deeming me not disabled. And then when I moved back to the state of Maine, and when it was found that I'm still disabled, and they reinstated my benefits and gave me my back pay, that just proved the case against Vermont. And so there, I'm filing again against Social Security Administration because my case was proven when I moved back to the state of Maine, when they reinstated my disability. And all these years that Vermont caused me punitive damages, emotional and mental distress, making me near homeless, losing everything I have, stealing everything I had. There's more charges coming. And I'm asking for the Vermont Department of Law Enforcement, as well as Washington, D.C., to start investigating even more. Because every bit of this, when I record, it types up into documentation. That way it makes it much easier for me to edit and send the lawsuits and claim of statement out. You have a great day.